Good evening, guys, girls, whoever's around. Welcome to Sober Redneck. I'm your host, Ben Stavely, or Benjamin, whatever you want to call me. Today, I'm not on index cards. I am on my notebook because it's kind of a lot that I wrote down here and couldn't transfer it all to index cards. But today's episode, we're going to talk about your support system through recovery you can apply it towards mental health or anything you're going through if you have a good support system, and how you can use it in everyday life. But before we do that, I feel like I need to read y'all the doctor's opinion. It's a pretty good read. It's from a doctor's standpoint. It's a few pages long, so bear with me. We'll go through this, and then I'll jump into the episode. The doctor's opinion. We of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the reader will be interested in the medical estimate of the plan of recovery described in this book. Convincing testimony must surely come from medical men who have had experience with the sufferings of our members and have witnessed our return to health. A well-known doctor, chief physician at a nationally prominent hospital specializing in alcohol and drug addiction, gave Alcoholics Anonymous this letter. To whom it may concern, I have specialized in the treatment of alcoholism for many years. In late 1934, I attended a patient who, though he had been a competent businessman of good earning capacity, was an alcoholic of a type I had come to regard as hopeless. In the course of his third treatment, he acquired certain ideas concerning a possible means of recovery. As part of his rehabilitation, he commenced to present his conceptions to other alcoholics, impressing upon them that they must do likewise with still others. This has become the basis of a rapidly growing fellowship of these men and their families. This man and over 100 others appear to have recovered. I personally know scores of cases who were of the type with whom other methods had failed completely. These facts appear to be extreme medical importance because the extraordinary possibilities of rapid growth inherent in this group. They may mark a new approach in the annals of alcoholism. These men may well have a remedy for thousands of such situations. You may rely absolutely on anything they say about themselves. Very truly yours, William D. Silkworth, MD. And then there's more, so I'm going to just keep reading. The physician who, at our request, gave us this letter has been kind enough to enlarge upon his views in another statement which follows. In this statement, he confirms what we have suffered alcoholic torture must believe, that the body of alcoholic is quite as abnormal as his mind. It did not satisfy us to be told that we could not control our drinking just because we were maladjusted to life, that we were in full flight from reality, or were outright mental defectives. These things were true to some extent, in fact, to a considerable extent with some of us. But we are sure that our bodies were sickened as well. In our belief, any picture of the alcoholic which leaves out this physical factor is incomplete. The doctor's theory that we have an allergy to alcoholic interests us. As laymen, our opinion as to its soundness may, of course, mean little, but as ex-problem drinkers, we can say that his explanation makes good sense. It explains many things for which we cannot otherwise account. Through we work out our solutions on the spiritual as well as electric plane, we favor hospitalization for the alcoholic who is very jittery or befogged. More often than not, it is imperative that a man's brain be cleared before he is approached, as he has then a better chance of understanding and accepting what we have to offer. The doctor writes, The subject presented in this book seems to me to be of paramount importance to those afflicted with alcoholic addiction. I say this after many years' experience as medical director of one of the oldest hospitals in the country treating alcoholic and drug addiction. There was, therefore, a sense of real satisfaction when I was asked to contribute a few words on a subject which is covered in such masterly details in these pages. We doctors have realized for a long time that some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented difficulties beyond our conception. What with our ultra-modern standards, our scientific approach to everything, we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. Many years ago, one of the leading contributors to this book came under our care in this hospital, and while here, he acquired some ideas which he put into practical application at once. Later, he requested the privilege of being allowed to tell his story to other patients here, and with some misgiving, we conceded. The cases we have followed through have been most interesting. In fact, many of them are amazing. The unselfishness of these men we have come to know them, the entire absence of profit motive in their community spirit is indeed inspiring to one who has labored long and wearily in this alcoholic field. They believe in themselves and still more in the power which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. Of course, an alcoholic ought to be freed from his physical craving for liquor, and as often requires a definite hospital procedure before psychological measures can be maximum benefit. We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy, that the phenomenon of cravings is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all, and once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. Frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. The message which can interact and hold these alcoholic people must have depth and weight. In nearly all cases, their ideals must be grounded in a power greater than themselves if they are to recreate their lives. If any felt that a psychiatrist directing a hospital for alcoholics we appear somewhat sentimental, let them stand with us a while on the firing line, see the tragedies, the despairing wives, the little children. Let the solving of these problems become a part of their daily work and even of their sleeping moments. And the most cynical will not wonder that we have accepted and encouraged this movement. We feel after many years, if experienced, that we have found nothing which has contributed more to the rehabilitation of these men than the altruistic movement now growing up among them. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot, after a time, differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can again experience the sense of ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. After they have succumbed to the desire again, as many do, the phenomenon of cravings develops. They pass through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over, and unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope on his recovery. On the other hand, and strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol, the only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. Men have cried out to me in sincere and despairing appeal, "Doctor, I cannot go on like this. I have everything to live for. I must stop, but I cannot. You must help me." Faced with this problem, if a doctor is honest with himself, he must sometimes feel his own inadequacy. Although he gives all that is in him, it often is not enough. One feels that something more than human power is needed to produce the essential psychic change. Through the aggregate of recovery resulting from psychiatric effort is considerable, we physicians must admit we have made little impression upon the problem as a whole. Many types do not respond to the ordinary psychological approach. I do not hold with those who believe that alcoholism is entirely a problem of mental control. I have had many men who had, for example, worked a period of months on some problem or business deal which was to be settled on a certain date favorable to them. They took a drink a day or so prior to the date, and then the phenomenon of craving at once became paramount to all other interests, so that the important appointment was not met. These men were not drinking to escape. They were drinking to overcome a craving beyond their mental control. There are many situations which arise out of the phenomenon of craving which cause men to make the supreme sacrifice rather than continue to fight. The classification of alcoholics seems most difficult and in much detail is outside the scope of this book. There are, of course, the psychopaths who are emotionally unstable. We are all familiar with this type. They are always going on the wagon for keeps. They are over remorseful and make many resolutions but never a decision. There is the type of man who is unwilling to admit that he cannot take a drink. He plans various ways of drinking. He changes his brand or his environment. There is the type who always believes that after being entirely free from alcohol for a period of time, he could take a drink without danger. There is the maniac depressive type who is perhaps the least understood by his friends and about whom a whole chapter could be written. Then there are types entirely normal in every respect except in the effect alcohol has upon them. They are often able, intelligent, and friendly people. All these and many others have one symptom in common. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. These phenomenons, as we have suggested, may be the manifestation of an allergy which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. It has never been, by any treatment with which we are familiar, permanently eradicated. The only relief we have to suggest is entire abstinence. These immediately precipitates us into seething a cauldron of debate. Much has been written pro and con, but among physicians the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. What is the solution? Perhaps I can best answer this by relating one of my experience. About 1 year prior to this experience, a man was brought in to be treated for chronic alcoholism. He had but partially recovered from a gastric hemorrhage and seemed to a case of pathological mental deterioration. He has lost everything worthwhile in life and was only living, one might say, to drink. He frankly admitted and believed that for him there was no hope. Following the elimination of alcohol, there was found to be no permanent brain injury. He accepted the plan outlined in this book. One year later, he called to see me, and I experienced a very strange sensation. I knew the man by name and partly recognized his features, but their all resemblance ended. From a trembling, despairing, nervous wreck had emerged a man brimming over with self-reliance and contentment. I talked with him for some time, but was not able to bring myself to feel that I had known him before. To me, he was a stranger, and so he left me. A long time has passed with no return to alcohol. When I need a mental uplift, I often think of another case brought in by a physician prominent in New York. The patient had made his own diagnosis and, deciding his situation hopeless, had hidden in a deserted barn, determined to die. He was rescued by a searching party and in desperate condition brought to me. Following his physical rehabilitation, he had talked with me in which he frankly stated he thought the treatment was a waste of effort, and unless I could assure him, which no one ever had, that in the future he would have the willpower to resist the impulse to drink. His alcoholic problem was so complex and his depression so great that he felt his only hope would be through what we then called moral psychology, and we doubted even that would have any effect. However, he did become sold on the ideas contained in this book. He has not had a drink for a great many years. I see him now and then, and he is as fine a specimen of manhood as one could wish to meet. I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through, and through perhaps he came to scoff, he may remain to pray. William D. Silkworth, M.D. And this is the doctor's opinion. I believe it's in the Alcoholics Anonymous book, the big book. I felt like reading that, and I think it kind of goes into today's episode about support system and having that support system in your recovery and mental health and in daily life. You can have a support system. So going into the episode, so most times during recovery, people often find themselves isolating or feeling lonely. Having a support system can provide company and bring people into your life that may or may not be able to relate to your situation, what you're going through. So like going through like AA for me, surrounding myself around people like me that sometimes I can understand and relate to what they're saying through their stories, and sometimes I can't. Not entirely. Like there's stuff that I relate through, like going through reading the Alcoholics Anonymous book, all the stories in there, I relate to something in their story. So surrounding yourself with people like that is good. How to build your support. I broke it down into like 4 steps, right? Like there's other ways, but this is basically what I brought it down to. 1, reach out to your loved ones, people who are closest to you that are understanding and trustworthy, and mainly alcohol and drug free. 2, reach out to your friends and coworkers, because you start with the people closest to you that you feel that can understand you and is trustworthy to you, and then you move on to your friends and coworkers. You'd be surprised that reaching out to friends and coworkers and telling them about you and what you're going through can surprise you and make you feel better about yourself, and knowing that there's other people in your work environment or your relationships with your friends are supporting you and has your back. 3, try to rebuild damaged relationships, and you do that through open communications, sometimes therapy, and patience. Rebuilding those damaged relationships can help you further along in the 12-step process, I feel like, because I think it's like step 9 or something. You amends all the wrongs you've done to people, unless it will cause further harm and damage. And number 4, be mindful of friends who might not support you in your journey. Recognize them soon and slowly distance yourself from them. And be like, oh, well, Ben, I don't want to lose my friends. They've been my friends for a lifetime. But yeah, they've been your friend for a lifetime, and look where you've been at. You know what I'm saying? It's cool they're your friends, but if you just watch, if you stop drinking or stop doing whatever you're addicted to, watch how your friends will slowly distance themselves from you. It might take a while, but they'll start not inviting you over, not inviting you to do things. So in a way, it's like y'all both have this understanding that you're trying to change and they're continue doing what they're doing, and you're no longer going to be in that environment or those situations that they put themselves into. So it's better for everyone. I mean, I wouldn't say cut them off completely, but like slowly just back yourself away from them. You know what I mean? They'll hit you up whenever they want to talk to you or need you. It's all good. You know what I mean? So that's my how to build a support system. Now there's other ways, but this is how I feel. Now, the principles of recovery support. So your recovery support principles, they have to have an understanding that each person is different and should be supported to make their own choices, listened to, and treated with dignity and respect, which is a big one. Treating somebody with dignity and respect is pretty big. Like, just showing them that you respect their decisions, and don't look at them like they're different or something's wrong with them, but treat them like a human being and giving them that respect and being there and listening to them, right? Actively listening. I say that because a lot of people listen, but they're not really listening. You have to be able to actively listen to these people, to whoever you're supporting, and support them to make their own choices. But I mean, you can help them, guide them to like, hey, I don't think that might be a good choice for you to make. And understanding that every person that you come across have different stuff going on, different problems, and you have to accept that. You know what I'm saying? You might not know all the answers to that, but you could be able to listen and hear them out, because most of the time that's all they need is someone to hear them. Then I went into a recovery model that I found, and it's broken down into 5 things, and they're pretty important things too. The first one is connectiveness and supportive relationships. So being connected and having a supportive relationship is pretty self-explanatory, right? You want to be surrounded and have a network of people around you that is supportive to your recovery journey and that is going to be there for you. Number 2, hope. Having hope and being positive. Giving yourself self-affirmations daily. Being optimistic about everything is one of the key things to recovery. You don't want to be negative all the time. You don't want to be that negative Nancy just going around and saying, oh, blah, 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 blah. My life is ruined. I can't do this. I can't do that. No, change that way. You got to change the way you think and be hopeful and mindful that you can get through anything that comes at you. identity is number 3. Knowing and understanding yourself and take choices that you can handle. Now you're going to be like, oh, well, we can't handle everything in our lives. We can't have control of everything. Yes, but you have choices inside those situations that you can handle. You might not can handle the entire situation, but you can handle your choices. You can handle how you are in that situation, how you react, how you're affected through it. Knowing yourself and understanding yourself, having that identity of self-worth and self-knowledge is key. Healthy coping strategies and meaningful internal schema, whatever. I don't know what it is. But pretty much self-management, self-help, knowing yourself, coming up with good coping and problem-solving skills. How else you want me to break that down? That kind of ties into identity, self-management, self-help, knowing yourself, changing your coping habits to good coping habits, being pretty good at coming up with problem-solving skills so nothing stumps you, changing bad habits for good habits. There's a lot of stuff into recovery that you have to take on yourself. There's a lot of you that is involved in it. I just want to make that clear. You have to put in the work. It's not going to come by itself. It's not going to come natural. You have to put in the work during your recovery. That was number 4. Number 5 is empowerment and building a secure base. That is going through and building a positive, healing culture and a strong, supportive network. Empowering and self-determination is important to recovery for reducing social and psychological effects of stress and trauma. That's going back to building your support system. Empowerment and building a secure base. Building a positive, healing culture and a strong supportive network is key. Alright, now we're just gonna move on. I don't know how long this episode is, but I feel like it's all about recovery. So you make your support system in recovery. And I put how have you, so I can't read my writing. I'm not good at writing, but it's how you have to change. This is how you have to change in support of your own recovery support system, right? This is all on you. This is all what I'm about to say is stuff you need to do to support yourself and be your own support in recovery. 1, low risk choices. No more high risk choices. Stick to low risk choices. Well, what's low risk choices? All right, well, a low risk choice is not going to drive you to use your substance that you're craving. You know what I'm saying? You want to stick to low risk choices. You're going to change bad habits for good ones. So if you let's say you like going to, after a long stressful day of work, you go to your lazy boy, your recliner, and you pop back a nice cold beer, right? And that's how you decompress. How's about we change that up and you can still go to, come home, go to your chair, kick back, but instead of a nice cold beer, why don't you substitute that? Try substituting it with a water or something. You know what I'm saying? You want to change your habits, right? To enforce good habits. You want to change them, right? I know I said that again, but change them. If you know that smoking a cigarette relaxes you, right? You don't have to smoke to relax. I mean, that's a habit, right? Try doing some breathing exercises. Stand outside or wherever you smoke and just do breathing exercises. Right? It kind of mimics smoking, right? And just think, right? Go through and process how you feeling. Let it out. Just in and out. Next one, self-affirmations, right? We are very good at being very negative to ourselves, right? Like very negative. We need to change that, right? Give ourselves good self-affirmations, right? Hey, you did good today. Hey, I'm proud of you. Hey, we're killing it at work today. Hey, you look good today. You know what? You look so good today. I believe you could treat yourself to an ice cream. Just self-affirmations, being positive to yourself. Help build that self-confidence with you, right? Self-confidence, self-esteem, right? The key word in it is self. No one else can help or hurt and give you negative self-esteem or self-confidence. It's all about you. If you could give yourself good daily self-affirmations, you will build your self-confidence and self-esteem up. That's how I feel about it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If not, that's my opinion. You could correct me in the comments if you want to. Next is knowing yourself and being honest with yourself, which is pretty hard, right? Like you could be honest with everybody else, but can you be honest with yourself? And that's where radical honesty comes in, right? I'll try doing an episode on radical honesty. If not, you could YouTube radical honesty. There's some good videos out there. But radical honesty is actually, you have to be straight up honest with yourself, right? Like, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna be painful, because you're honest with yourself. You're telling yourself all your flaws, all your defects, right? It's like one of the steps in the 12 steps. You just be honest with yourself, completely honest, right? And if you're honest with yourself, you can be honest with other people in your life. That's something I need to work on more, because I feel like I'm honest, but I know I'm not honest with myself completely. And it's leading me not to be honest with other people in my life, which I'm trying to change. I'm going to be addressing that this week, probably. It's going to be hard, very difficult. Next one, when you need help, ask for help. Like, it is your choice, right? It is your choice to do anything in life. Have the choice to reach out for help. No one can help you unless you ask for help. Don't wait until you get in trouble. For my guys in the military, don't wait until you are in trouble with some kind of substance. Please don't, because that, you can recover from it. Trust me, you can recover. But reach out. We have so many services available that you could reach out and get help before you get in trouble. My last one here, change of friendships and environments. And that goes into, where was it? I want to say how to build a support system, changing of friendship and environment. Your friendship's going to change. Once you step into the path of recovery, being sober, you're going to change. Your friendship's going to change. The friends that you thought was going to be there, it's not going to be there. Just going to give you that heads up so you're not blindsided. Changing your friendships for the better, great. Since going down this path, I've met a bunch of good friends. I'm in group chats with them all the time. We always talking. We always checking up on each other. That's something you need in your life. You need that good, positive friendships of people that's going through the same thing as you are, to help you. And they're there for me. If I call them right now and be like, hey, I'm struggling, or I put in a group chat, hey, I'm struggling, I need some help, I'll have 3 to 5 people reach out to me and ask me what's going on, what do I need, and that's what we need in our friends and in our support system. Changing your environment. That is like change. I mean, there's some things you can change, some things you can't change. I get that, but like going out to bars, that's not really a good environment for you if you're on a path of recovery. Or some people who lives in the city, right? On their way home, a lot of people walk, right? On the paths that they walk home, might be going by some bars. You might have to change your routes, right? Change your routes and go another way. And there's a story I would like to read, but it's the 5-paragraph autobiography, I believe, short autobiography. It's basically about walking down the street. Walking down the street, there's a hole, you don't see it, you fall in, you're lost. Chapter 2. Well, no, so you're lost. Eventually you get out. Chapter 2. Walking down the street, there's a hole, you don't know it, you fall in, you're lost, but it feels normal. You feel like you've been there before, and you get out. You're walking down the same street, you know there's a hole. You know there's a hole, but you still fall in. You know this place, you've been here before, you get out. Chapter 4. You're walking down the same street, you know there's a hole, but you avoid the hole. And you continue on. Last chapter. You take a new street. Problem solved. I don't know if you get that. You know, it kind of puts you in perspective there of like of how easily it is to fall into a trap or feel like you're trapped, and you get yourself out and you continue doing the same things over and over, but you don't know how you got trapped. You get trapped again, but you know how it is. You know you've been in there before, so you get out. Now you're doing the same thing you've been doing. You know there's a hole somewhere, but there's a trap somewhere, but you don't know where exactly it is. You fall back into it. You've been in a situation before, you get out, but you continue on doing the same stuff that you've been doing. You avoid it. And you say, oh, I avoided that trap or that hole. But eventually, you'll fall back into that hole or that trap because you're not changing your environment. Which goes into the last chapter is, he just takes a new street. Of course, you don't know what that street holds, but you know that street, you'll be trapped. That environment, you'll be trapped. So what I'm saying is just change your environment. If you can, change your environment. If you can't, try coming up with better ways, coping and problem-solving skills that can get you through your environment. Like I said, this is the end of it. If you have a chance to look up the doctor's opinion on AA, I think it's an Alcoholics Anonymous book. Remember how important it is to have a support system. What a support system does, how to build a support system, the principles of recovery support, the recovery model. And importantly, you play a big role. Yourself plays a big role in your recovery, in your support system. So remember that. Remember, guys, to be honest with yourself. Radical honesty will always help you. Self-awareness is key. And remember, it is your choice to stay sober. And leave you with a little nugget here. We are either working on path of recovery or we're working on relapse. With that being said, this is Sober Redneck. I'm signing off. Y'all have a good night.